you know, Willow Canyon PTA at Gmail. Make sure that your whole executive board has the password to that, and that's the email account that you use for your credit card. Every time, well, so just like if we're printing out other things to attach to our funds received forms, you need to print out either your payment notification emails or the statements that show what payments were made in that time frame and attach those to a funds received form. So even though that money went straight to your bank account, you never saw it, you still have to have a funds received form filled out for it with the documentation attached. You have to have a non-signing, so that someone who's not on your bank account must reconcile the the credit card account monthly, and then the treasurer and the president both need to do it as well. So designate someone on your board who is not a signer on your bank account to do that. There also needs to be someone on your board who is designated to open your bank statements that is not a signer on the account. And that just adds another layer of transparency. Someone who doesn't have access to the account is looking at the account and making sure nothing is totally out of whack. You know, if you opened the bank statement and, whoa, what was that $10,000 withdrawal from? You know, that's just another check and balance. Did you have a question?
When it says a non-signing board member reconcile the account, is that the Square PayPal account or is that the whole bank account?
Your PayPal account or your Square account or whatever you are using to receive your credit card payments.
So what are they doing exactly?
Betty?
Actually, they don't reconcile it, they just acknowledge.
Oh, the handbook says reconcile.
They don't have anything to reconcile against.
Okay.
It's just looking over and saying, so that they can say at the next board meeting, well, I saw that there was, this amount loaded in or deposited in our account. I don't see it listed here on the report. So there's nothing to reconcile on the PayPal or the Square. It's just knowing that how much has come through and stuff.
Okay.
So nobody else has access to your bank account either.
Right.
They're just
Looking over it. Thanks for that clarification.
And I'll change that.
Yeah, review. And then at your meeting, so one of your duties is to give a treasurer's report. You also have to give a separate report on your credit card account. So just basically that would be an item on your main treasurer's report, but that has to be given as a second report in your minutes. And you cannot use Venmo. No Venmo or anything. Any questions on credit cards? Yeah?
So I'm assuming so I'm just thinking with Member Hub, they can pay directly for things with credit cards.
Right.
I'm assuming that's separate from this.
Yes, it is.
Bonding insurance, though, because of that.
Good question. No, you don't need bonding insurance if you're only using Member Hub for online payments.
Like your store in Member Hub.
Right, your Member Hub store.
Everybody, not just members.
Right.
Anyone can go to that.
Yes,
Make donations.
right.
And same with Success Fund, if you're only using those online things, you don't need to have bonding insurance. If you're taking Square, PayPal, that's separate from that.
Okay, yeah, good question. Thank you. Yeah?
Question. So when I registered for this, I also signed up for my membership on the Region 17.
Oh, awesome. Okay.
How does that get to our school?
Tanya, do you know the answer to that? When she signed up for this convention or this training today, she also signed up for PTA through Region 17. How does that get to her school, or does it not?
We are in the process of putting those reports together, and then we will write a check from Region 17
Did that answer your question? Okay, thank you. Any other questions up to here? Yeah. Oh,
So on the treasurer report, it shows, last month on what we spent, what we Friday, right?
yeah,
Right?
I think on my next slide, there is a copy of the treasurer's report. If you want to go to the next slide. Yeah.
And I'm a little confused, how would we put a separate one for our credit card when that money goes into our bank account?
So I believe the best way to do it would be, so on this one, where you have income, you would say PayPal, X amount of dollars. Then on your one specifically for your credit card, you would say, you would list each transaction. Is that correct, Betty?
And they give you a monthly report that you can print out, so it wouldn't have to be multiple pages, it's just do the one, unless you had, a whole bunch, which would be great, but, so you can just print out that one thing, you can actually just attach it to this, and if you have that line item under the income,
Mm-hmm.
that should balance with what you're attaching.
Perfect. So Square or PayPal will give you a monthly report that you can just attach to this as your treasurer's month, as your report for that.
But we do need to have one specifically for our credit card.
Yes.
Is that a funds received form versus the treasurer's report?
Sorry, what was that, Carol?
Isn't that a funds received form that we need to have specifically for the credit card, or is it a treasurer's report?
You need both. You need a treasurer's report specifically for the credit card.
Oh,
But if you print out a report from PayPal and staple it, that's done the work for you. Then you just fill out your pertinent information and make sure the amounts sync up. Susan?
Back to that Venmo, that you can't do it, like, you can't, your PTA can't have an account with Venmo, but it is embedded in some of the programs like Success Fund.
Oh.
But, so like Success Fund, so if that is something you're really wanting to do, it is embedded in there, that doesn't, where you could take it that way.
Okay, so did everyone hear that? Some online payment programs like Success Fund have Venmo built in as an option. You can use that. You just can't say, Venmo me your membership money at Willow Canyon PTA. But if it is embedded in another site, that's okay.
And I want to clarify, I just heard this correctly. So the monthly treasurer's report, there's a standard one we do every month, but there's also I want to call it a secondary one for just credit card stuff. That's like a sub-report that you would do every month that you have credit card data.
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
So this is the form that your monthly treasurer's report is on. Then you would have 2 of these each month if you use credit card accounts for payment. We're all on the same page on that? And so, like I said, you'll present this treasurer's report at every meeting so that everyone on your board is aware of where your finances are at any given time. You can give them copies or just pass around yours, let them look at it, however is best, but you also physically present it from your mouth. And then also in your binder is this bank reconciliation form. This is what I thought I didn't need to do my first year. I was wrong. This you do every month, and it's a way to keep track of, have they cashed their checks? Did I write this check that no one cashed? What has actually gone through at that point? So that at that given point in time, you know exactly the amount of money in your bank account. Not the amount of money you've written checks for, but the amount that has happened in real life. And that helps you keep track of when you've written a check and someone has lost it or forgotten to cash it, or because that's a problem we see often at the end of the year when we're trying to balance people's books is they'll have 4 or 5 checks that they wrote throughout the year to PTA members and they never got cashed. And so that makes your bank account amount different from the amount that you think you have. So by doing this monthly, it keeps you making sure that at all times you know where you are. So then if there's a problem, you know where you go to fix it. Yeah?
So do we need to use that form?
No.
Or this is the one that you said that we can do it either online or in a physical?
Yeah, you can do it whatever way works for you. Like I used this form. My husband thought I was an idiot. He was like, you can do this so much easier on Excel, and did some formula for me. And I was like, that doesn't work for me. This worked for me, that worked for him. So find what works for you and just make sure it's happening.
You can also use the back of the bank statement as provide one. And like you say, it's just whatever works for you, what's easiest for you, what shows what information you need, and that's what is.
Yeah, so,
And doing it every month is important.
yeah. Back to that organization. Okay, next slide. Oh, yeah. So at the end of the year, you have other responsibilities. I'm not going to go over them in depth right now because there's so much information and we'll train on this closer to the end of the year again. But you'll be submitting a sales tax refund request, which is just paperwork that we send in, and then we get a check back for all of the sales tax we paid that year. You will fill out your year-end financial statement, which just basically is a summary of everything that happened money-wise that year. Did you have a question?
Yeah, I'm not worried about the information. Our last treasurer told us that we never got our back in the last 2 years.
Ooh, I would contact the state. Betty is our state
Anyone in
treasurer.
the South Council, you did not, your sales tax refund request was not submitted in this last batch in February. So just submit it with this one, and you will just give you one check for both of them. And you don't have to redo it on the same form. You can just take a copy of that form again and just submit it with the one that you're doing for the second half of this year. And then it'll just be paid in one check when it comes.
Did that answer your question? Okay. You also, there's an annual financial reconciliation that happens each year where people audit your books, make sure you did things right. You don't do that, but you're responsible for making sure it gets done. And then we also file with the IRS every year as part of our nonprofit status. And for most PTAs, that is a really simple process. Most of us don't make enough money to need to do complicated things. So it's a website we go to. It's a $9.90 postcard. And again, we'll go over that more with you when the time comes.
I just want to say, because I can't say it enough, the address you use for everything IRS is the state office address, the Green Pine Drive address. You don't want these things coming to you. When there's a problem or an issue or they don't understand something or you left a number off, they send it to the state office. And for me, it's usually just going online and doing a few little clicks and taking care of it. So if they send it to you, I get this panicky phone call. I don't know what to do. I don't know what I did wrong. You know, it's just like, okay, just send it into the office. So everything with the IRS is the Green Pine Drive address, okay? So just remember that with the 990N filing. No one in this district makes more than $50,000, and so you're all the 990N. And so it's really simple to do, but then go back in and make sure you do the updated filing status and get the report that says accepted. Because the one that says pending doesn't do you good, then I have to go back in and do it and get it printed.
And we'll remind you about all of that. Sometimes it's hard at the beginning of the year to wrap your mind around the end of the year. So if this stuff is a little foggy, that's okay. We've got your back. Yeah?
I just have a question on this
Yeah?
So was there a place where the president and the treasurer signed them?
Not on the reconciliation in the treasurer's report, no. But it would be in your minutes that your treasurer's report was, or that your treasurer reported and that everything was correct. Yeah?
And, did I hear you right when did you say that you don't have to use those exact forms, but you have to have those that information?
Yes. You don't have, maybe on the sales tax request form, you need that exact form. But all of the, like the check request, the funds received, if you want to make your own form, you can. Just make sure it has all of that correct stuff on it.
The treasurer's report and the bank reconciliation.
Yeah, you can do a different form for those as long as it has all the same information. Okay, just some things that I feel like we always get questions on. Gift cards. You need to be really, really careful if you are giving out gift cards because there's kind of a loss of accountability with that gift card. It can get lost, it can get given, like maybe you don't know if the right person got it. So if you're giving out gift cards, say for Teacher Appreciation Week, you need to have a form that Mrs. So-and-so signs that she got her gift card in this amount. And everyone who's receiving a gift card needs to do that. And then that log needs to be stapled to the check request that you used to buy the gift cards. So that when someone is looking at what was this check written for, you have complete documentation of it was written not only just for gift cards, but for this person to get a gift card and this person to get a gift card. So that way if someone ever comes back and says, oh hey, I was a winner of that contest, why didn't I get my gift card? Then you have documentation to go back and make sure, A, they didn't get a gift card, and then you know who did get a gift card, and then figure out how you want to solve that problem. A lot of times we get questions asking where we get a 501c3 letter. That is a letter that states that you are a nonprofit organization. Sometimes when you are wanting to partnership with a business or someone, Costco is giving you 300 cases of water, they want a letter saying that you are a approved nonprofit. And so if you need that letter, you email kids@utahpta.org with your PTA name, your address, all of that information, and they will send you back a letter that is valid for the entire year. So some schools never need that, but often that's a question we get. Okay, the MOU form and the financial grant agreement. So a lot of you were here for the president's part. The MOU form is a form that you need to fill out if you are doing a joint fundraiser with your school. So that means if you and your principal have decided, instead of having 2 fundraisers, let's have 1. We don't really encourage that at all, but schools do it. So if you are a school that is doing it, you need to make sure you have this MOU filled out, which basically breaks down exactly what is happening with that money. What part of that money is going to the PTA, what part of that money is going to the school, and breaks down all of that so there's no confusion. And that gets filed with the district. You keep a copy, probably your principal wants a copy. And then there's another form that is called the Financial Grant Agreement. This needs to be filled out if your PTA is gifting money to your school to pay for a specific something. For example, some schools or some PTAs give their school money to pay for field trips. So they put in their budget $5,000 for field trips. Which, great, if your PTA has that amount of money to share, wonderful. But you need to make sure you fill out a financial grant agreement, which you can get on utahpta.org and print that out. It's basically a form that you and your principal, or your president and your principal, however, fill out that specifies PTA is giving you X amount of dollars for this purpose. And then on the form it says, if there is money left over, this is what you're going to do with it. You're either going to give it back to us, or you're going to use it for Chromebooks or whatever, but it needs to be documented. Exactly what is happening with that money. Just to keep you safe and to keep the school safe, so we don't have any issues where there's a disagreement between the principal and the PTA as to what funds were supposed to be used for. So make sure if you gift money to your school that you fill out one of those and you keep a copy and your principal keeps a copy. There is another form, boy we love our forms, that is for in-kind donations. This is the form you have to fill out if, say again, Costco donates 300 cases of water. They didn't give you money, so you don't have to fill out a fund request form, or I mean a funds received form, but you need to fill out this form that says, Costco gave us this much water. It would have cost us this much money if we bought it ourselves. Blah, blah. Not blah, blah, but that's basically what the form says.
So where do we turn that form into and under limits? Like,
You just,
like someone's donating a can of corn for a food bank you have. Like, do you have to fill out this form?
no, this would be more of a donation that is helping your PTA run. So like, that is, how do I explain it, Betty? What's the difference?
Is there a dollar limit?
Like if you're bringing a can of corn to the food drive, you don't have to fill that out.
No, it's the limit is $250.
Okay.
Of services or product or something like that. So,
And then you don't have to turn that into anyone, but you keep that in your binder as part of your financial record.
So you're only allowed to receive in-kind donations that are worth up to $250?
No, if you receive, if they're under 250, you don't have to fill out the form. If they represent a cash value of over 250, that is when you fill out the form.
and then also you would want to give the donor, if they ask for it, a receipt showing that they gave this and they didn't receive anything in return, so that they can use it on their taxes. So,
And there's a form for that. There's a donor receipt form on the website as well. And then book fair, who knows if we'll even be having book fairs this year, but just to make sure everyone's clear, we now have to charge tax. That was a change that was made last year that I think fell through the cracks in a lot of places. So when a parent comes to buy a book from your book fair, they pay tax. That's just the way it is now. A lot of people don't like it, but it's happening. So, does anyone have any other questions about things that, anything happening? No? Oh, yes?
On the MOU,
Uh-huh.
does it say on the form where that needs to be filed?
I don't know if it says on the form where it needs to be filed. The MOU is actually a district form, not a PTA form. But I will tell you it needs to go to Susan's office, as well as you keep a copy and your principal keeps a copy. Did you have a question?
Yeah, so it's like on the check reimbursement, so say you're like, take $50, but they spent $52, so the receipt says $52, and you have to write for 52, or can you just write it for the 50?
You can just write it for the 50. if at all possible, get people to only buy their PTA stuff on that receipt, but yes, you can write it just for the amount that was used to purchase PTA things. You just need to make sure on the form that that is detailed. Like, I know this receipt says 52, but the $2 was for my Milky Way craving at the checkout. Only 50 of it was PTA specific.
We actually don't even allow that kind of thing because it's really hard to figure out the tax. That gets all messed up. And so I have done this for when I have to do 3 different things, one for scouting, one for PTA, one for family. And some of the people behind me kind of go, but you know, you make it real quick and the checkers don't care. I mean, they just
Right.
do it. So if you get a craving at the check stand, just say, this has to go on a separate receipt. And they all know that, every checker that I
So what do schools do if someone turns in a receipt and they didn't follow that rule?
I used to tell them at the beginning of the year, thank you for the donation, because I would pay it back as a treasurer. It's just, so these are IRS rules that we're following, it's not something that PTA made up. So if you ever get audited for any reason, and they come in and they look at your books, they see all these things lined out on a receipt, they're gonna go, what is this? You're not supposed to have your expenses on one thing. So we're trying to protect you by enforcing these rules. Their fines are not capricious and they're not little. And they tack on extra bonus dollars to your fine the longer it's been. So if they come in and say, we want to look at your books from 4 years ago, and they find all these violations, then you know, it can be huge. And we try to mitigate those, but again, we're just trying to protect you and the money that you work so hard to spend for our children.
So don't accept those receipts, and if they're mad, they can call Betty.
We've had people go back and have the store redo, like issue a return and
Oh.
reissue. It's a big pain for everyone involved, so split them to begin with and make sure everyone knows that. Never mix those receipts.
Good idea, thank you. Carol, did you have a question? And then over
I
here.
was just gonna suggest, because I've done that before, gone to the dollar store and then forgot to do it separate, so I just went back, bought the same things, and then I returned them. And
So
I
there
have
are
receipts.
ways to deal with it if people forget or don't know what they're doing. Yes?
So last year, I didn't know about this, usually I turned in a receipt that had the fruit snack product for the fun run, but I paid the tax myself, and I only asked for the amount returned to me that the amount of product it was itself.
Okay.
Is that still kind of crossing the line, or what if
You
like
should do,
you're,
yeah, you should do that. IRS would like it, but
Even that,
I mean,
even if
even
they're
that,
not
don't,
doing
it's
that?
separate receipts.
okay.
Good questions. Any other questions? Okay, then I think that's it. Thank you guys so much for coming. Don't ever hesitate to contact me if you have another question. I don't want you guys crying at your kitchen table because something didn't go right. Call me. I will at least come cry with you and bring some chocolate.